Welcome to another episode of the Dentology podcast, where we discuss the business of dentistry. In this podcast series, we'll be discussing all the non-clinical aspects of dentistry, from goodwill values, finance, marketing, how to buy and sell a dental practice, mindset, through to where you can invest your money in team management issues. My name is Andy Acton, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Strevens. Let's jump straight into it. I think people are going to take so much from that episode with Harry Singh.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is he has this really big persona. And listening to him for that time, you know a bit more about it. You get behind him, get underneath his skin. I love the fact that Richard Branson is now just Richard.
Just Richard, yeah. But also someone who is constantly evolving and looking for the next opportunity. You know, qualified in dentistry, but got other businesses that came out of it. But a really well thought out approach to what he's doing, and a really smart guy. I
think for me, one of the smart things was the start something, realise it's not quite working because the market's not quite right and you're not quite right, stopping, waiting 5 years, then restarting. I think people will find that quite interesting.
But also his commitment to personal development and that lifelong learning. And when he got an opportunity to go and spend some time with Richard Branson, he grabbed it.
Is that Richard?
It was, yeah.
It was brilliant. It was really good.
No, it was really good. Really enjoyable episode. So welcome. Today, we are so fortunate. We've had some cracking guests on, but this one is an absolute corker. We're joined by Harry Singh. Harry's a dentist. He's
Harry who?
Harry Singh.
Oh, Harry Singh, right. Yeah, okay.
Everybody knows Harry.
Of course they
Everybody
do.
knows
Come on.
Harry. So
everybody does.
So he's a dentist. He's the founder of the Botulinum Toxin Club and a facial aesthetics guru, founder of the Dental Property Club, and an author as well. Welcome, Harry. How are you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, I thought you were going to say, we've got someone inspiring, awesome. They couldn't make it today, so we've got a stand-in.
I was contemplating it. I think anyone that is announced as a guru, there's no pressure on that then, is there, right?
Absolutely not. And I didn't even mention an avid Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah, can you tell from my Scouse accent from North London? So, mentor Liverpool fan. Try to get the kids involved. They're not interested. So just me going alone.
Oh, really? Not interested?
Yeah, not interested in football, cricket.
Yeah, well,
I think they're true Indians. Don't play cricket.
Perhaps that thing. Perhaps you do walk. Perhaps you do walk alone after all.
Yeah, that's it. They don't like spicy food, so I go. So failing. But yeah, no, it's good. Good season last season. And actually, I know you guys are avid readers, but I know Klopp and his assistant just launched a book on their training methods and their philosophy. Just quite.
Oh, okay.
So the name.
It's
really good in terms of how they get the intensity, how they get the team bonding, training, and everyone together in terms of unity. So that'll be my next read.
Have they done a Netflix documentary there?
I don't think so.
I bet they must be on it. I mean, I'm watching Arsenal's All or Nothing.
Yeah, I think
which is quite entertaining.
I was going to say, I think they started with the lower teams. They did Tottenham, they've done Arsenal. They'll probably move on to Manchester United and Liverpool at some point.
For those of you listening in September 2022, I would refer you to the league table and the performance so far. But anyway, just moving on. Not that
back to normal business.
Yeah, back to normal business. Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
on that point, Harry, I'm always fascinated at the link between high-performing sports teams and business, and the stuff we can learn from that in terms of culture, how to manage a tribe, how to motivate people. I think there's so much we can learn from that. So now that'll be a really interesting read, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I love autobiographies from famous sports people to see, how they came over the pressures, how they're so consistent. I think what we want, because obviously we all wake up some days demotivated, but it's been that consistency throughout 10, 15, 20 year career.
Yeah. And depending on what sport you're in, to be the best of the best, that is phenomenal. I mean, I know he gets kind of highlighted a lot, but Alex Ferguson as a football manager, to manage a club and those players over 2 decades and that consistency of continuing to perform at that level. There's very few people in other walks of life that achieve that sort of success, and we should learn so much.
And to
from
keep
people
it
like that.
fresh. I think that must be the hard thing, you know, when anyone's managed a team, and I don't mean like a football team, but, you know, even when you've got a team of people and you say the same thing, and you can imagine some of the people who've been here like 5 years, oh, here we go again, oh, yeah, right. So you've got to try and keep that re-delivery of the same message in either an enthusiastic message or in a slightly different way. So it resonates with those people, even though, I mean, that must be, you know, over 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
You can't keep saying the same old schnizzle, can you? Because the guys have been sitting there going, yeah, all right, hurry up, Alex. It's, I want to go and have a bath or something.
I'd love to get your review once you've read the book, Harry. It'd be good to have a chat and get your review.
It's
and
been
that.
like marriage, isn't it? 20 years saying the same stuff to the wife.
Yeah, exactly. So you started off by saying that your kids haven't taken your lead from football, and your children don't like spicy food. You said that when you were young, your parents said to you, you can be a doctor or a dentist or a failure. You know, which is it going to be? Yeah. What were your parents like when you were young? What were your parents like in terms of how they manage you? Have you got siblings? Or
I'm a middle child, so they were very strict, and it's quite funny. I resented that when I was growing up, because all my friends could go on holiday, could go to the pub, etc. But then I respected the way they brought me up, because I see my friends now struggling with life, personal problems, and I've got, because I had that strictness, that really boded me well for my work ethic. So yeah, growing up as middle child, 2 boys, 1 girl.
What did they do, Harry? Your parents? What did they do?
Well, it's funny because,
as in work-wise.
I was going to say get the slipper out and the cane and the stuff, but they were factory workers. So they were educated back in India. My mum was a maths teacher, and my dad was a headmaster. But when they came in the 1960s, their qualifications weren't recognised, and like a lot of immigrants, they thought they would only stay here for 3-4 years, build up enough money, go back home, but then they just ended up making this their home. So yeah, they were factory, and they had 2 jobs. So they would work in a car. My mum worked in a sewing machine factory. My dad worked in a car parts factory. Then in the evening, they'd work in a food packaging thing. And actually, they got me a job there. So most of my school holidays, I was working there. And that, I think, I respect that, because the work ethic, and also you can be anything you want if you work hard, be sensitive.
But also there's a message in there as well, Harry, that, you know, life doesn't always, you don't keep moving forward and upwards. You know, these are 2 qualified teachers from their home country who come to England, and their qualifications not recognised. So from a status point of view, you know, arguably their qualifications back in India are putting them on a different plane to when they arrived in England, let alone all the issues that would have been associated with Indian people coming to England in the 60s. It's a real kind of, in many ways, a step backwards. But was their driver to give a better life for their kids? Is that kind of and what was underpinning their decision?
Yeah, that was their decision. And then his education was critical. I remember my dad saying stories when he was in India. It took him 5 miles to walk to his school. And I think that, because obviously we take education granted in this country, because we've got such a good education system, it's free to everyone. We take that for granted, and then parts for other world where they actually want to learn, but maybe they can't learn, or because of poverty, as obviously our good friend Shaz, obviously helping Wheels on Wheels in terms of children can't go to school, water. And that's what it was like in India. And we take it for granted. And that's why I did really work I mean, a combination of their strictness and also their bias towards education, I did really well in school, and both my siblings did, because that was drummed into us. Education, then you can choose your career, your pathway, and you're much more stable. Yeah, and then because I was good at science, they said, okay, I said to them, I want to be an actor and stuff. And they were quite blunt. They go,
really?
Your face is too ugly for TV. You're never going to make it. Maybe radio. So they said doctor, dentist, or pharmacist. That was the 3 options I had when I was growing up. And then it's only because of work experience, the dentist I met was so passionate, so motivated. It also helped. I saw his car and I saw his watch. I go, okay, it must be quite a good job to have there. So
It's funny you say work experience. So was that arranged through school?
Yeah,
You did work experience at a dental practice.
Yeah, for dental practice.
It's so funny. We've heard. I mean, we've done this for a while now, and I don't know. We've probably done 60+ episodes, but there's probably been 5 or 6 different dentists who got the bug when they did work experience, and I wonder whether, and I don't know the answer to it, whether the work experience program in schools is as strong as it used to be, and people are getting those early insights to what could be a career, or whether work experience now it doesn't really have the shape that it did back in your day.
Everyone wants to be an Instagram influencer or YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
That's going to work.
But I think they don't allow dentistry as work experience, I think, because of health and safety. So, because obviously my son's 16, daughter's 14, they're at that age where they're looking at work experience. And dentistry is not one on the list. But I think, and luckily for me, the dentist I saw was really motivated and passionate about the job. And you can imagine some of the kids going to some of the work experience with some of the dentists on Facebook now that moan all the time. Imagine a 14-year-old impressionable student going to one dentist. They would never go into dentistry.
Yeah. Are you still in touch with that dentist?
Yeah. Retired, because it's in Hitchin, which is quite close to where I live in Steve.
Right.
Oh, right. Okay.
Kept in touch with him. He retired, sold his practice. He actually offered me to buy his practice. It wasn't suitable for me at that time. But still kept in touch and just thank him. And all I remember is that even when I went to university, we had to get teeth for extractions for practicing. And I would go every summer to him, and he would always save me a jar of teeth and take it back to university to practice our skills on.
That's brilliant.
It's funny, isn't it? We often don't appreciate the impact that people can have, these small little nuggets and moments of things that happen.
And
in that moment, for him, it was just a kid came in for work experience, and who'd have thought that would have shaped your career because he was enthusiastic and positive, and that put you on the path. And in that moment for him, it was just you were doing a nice,
thing. I think they
No.
don't appreciate it. I always think to myself, I hope that sometime there'll be something that I might have said to someone who they might go, oh yes, I remember Chris said that.
Yeah.
You'll never know, but I just think it happens so often, doesn't it? When you go, oh, actually, I remember, in my case, a bloke called Ian. He said either work harder or just enjoy yourself as you are. And it made me think, okay, probably need to roll your sleeves up a bit. So you just sort of hope, don't you? You've left an imprint on someone.
So what were your teenage?
Sorry,
go on, Harry.
Yeah, it's like we all write articles, and you think no one's reading them, and I get them to say, I remember that article you did 8 years ago or 5 years ago, and I've implemented or it resonated with me. So as you say, you never know who's listening or who's reading what you post.
Yeah. So at what point was it the work experience that then put you on that path? You were obviously good at science, which is a great start point, but was it that then really honed your thinking of, right, I'm going to get to dental school. What are the grades? What does that look like? Where do I go?
So studied hard, got really good A-level results, went for interviews throughout university, and also I made a conscious decision not to study too close to home, because obviously I wanted some freedom, be more independent. So,
well, especially if they'd been very strict by the sounds of things.
And then went up north, up to Leeds, which I really loved. Best time ever. And then it's quite thanks. My son's just about to do A-levels. Go make sure you get to university. It's the best time of your life, and you get lifelong friendships, experiences. But what happened was, because obviously in the Fed, there's a lot of Indians that people can go two ways. They could have been too sheltered, and I saw it with my dental colleagues and medical colleagues. They got too sheltered, and first time I experienced freedom, they just went crazy, drinking every night, missed all their lectures, failed all their exams. And I would say there's about 22 Asians, Indian, Pakistani that failed their exam because their parents were so strict, and they got just so carried away, and they didn't study.
Wow.
So you just got to be careful, and I was quite conscious of that in terms of enjoying your life but not getting too carried away.
I think there's a similar thing that happens in America. In America, you can't drink alcohol until you're 21. And in the northern state, in New York State, lots of the kids cross the border to Canada because you can drink when I think it's either 16 or 18 in Canada. And because they've never been exposed to alcohol, they all cross the border, get absolutely, wasted. because it's that thing of there's been no
freedom.
There's been no freedom and there's been no building up. So I think you're right. I think strictness is great, but you also need to prepare people for the next stage of their life.
It's a balance, isn't it?
So obviously you were in Leeds back in '96, which seems an awful long time ago, and I can't believe you're still looking so good on it, to be honest with you, giving you a bit of a hell raise.
No, I think you'll find the connection's a bit fuzzy.
Or is it a filter?
Yeah, I think it's just a bit fuzzy. It's not giving a true pixelation of Harry.
So we get quite a lot of younger dentists listening to this. So what was it like studying dentistry back in the sort of the mid late 90s? What was it?
Yeah, it was
like
quite.
in your experience?
The tutors were very strict. Obviously, there was no PC policies around there. So, but what I found, there was a lot of hands-on experience, whether it was that time in. Or whether it's because it's further north, the dental health was a bit poorer, and then I got so much clinical experience up there because I remember doing VT, or whatever it's called these days. So VT my year, and I was back in London. Compared to the people that qualified from London, the clinical experience was amazing that I had. Actually went really, really quick and stuff. Enjoyed, what I say is people, work hard, play hard. The social aspect, but I really enjoyed it. But it was tough teaching.
Did you do any amateur dramatics when you were there, Harry?
No, maybe after a few drinks in the karaoke bar, but not.
I was wondering if you used it as an opportunity to get your acting, sort of like you could have been like Footlights or whatever it was at Cambridge or something. I just wondered.
I think it got drummed out of me, so I never pursued that. But I played a lot of sports, cricket. That was really good. But it wasn't easy with dentistry, but because it's long terms compared to other students. I remember my first year as halls of residence, I shared a flat with a guy next to me. He was studying history and he was doing about 6 hours a week, while us guys were doing about 30 hours a week studying and stuff. So
wow.
I'll be waking up 7 o'clock in the morning, have my shower, and he could be in bed until 2 o'clock in the afternoon there. So same again, longer terms.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting what you say about the extent of the hands-on clinical experience. I'm not sure whether there's necessarily as much of that.
That's the feedback we hear, isn't it?
You'd have got that perhaps people don't come out having treated so many patients in different scenarios as perhaps they would have liked.
Well, who was that person we were talking to who said that that I can't remember who it was, but their FD had never done an extraction until they came to the. I can't remember for the practice for the FD, and it was like. He was like, "What are they doing?" It's fascinating,
and it's quite funny when you qualify for university, you think you know it all, and then when you go into your first year in your packet, you go, "Oh my god!" you can't take 2 hours to do a amalgam restoration.
I think it can't be beautifully crafted.
But the thing is, so many things in life. There's the technical learning of something, and then there's the application of it in a real life setting where you've got a real patient and you've got real concerns and they might be nervous and you've got a real life environment and you're working with other people, and when you put that into the pot, you can be technically gifted at something, but if you can't manage all the other elements around it, you're going to struggle.
I mean, you probably found it with the younger dentists, they spend probably more time doing notes than the actual treatment, and obviously nowadays simple exam, S&P, sign it, that's it.
Defensive dentistry. It's very interesting because a lot of the principals say, the new guys, they're coming out and they are very good at notes, so as they don't get sued, but not very swift on the dentistry. It's fascinating, really.
So you did your dentistry for a reasonable period of time, but then your career headed off in the direction of facial aesthetics, and you also had a property business as well. And when you started doing facial aesthetics, was that around about 2002?
I started 2002, but it didn't really take off because I didn't really know the marketing or the business aspects. And a lot of dentists, when they start off anything that's more cosmetic or private led. And I gave up for 2.
But also, Harry, in your defence as well, I think back in 2002, it was very cutting edge. We talk about facial aesthetics now because it's so mainstream, but when you were starting out back then, it really was a new form of treatment. So there's that kind of, you were a real early adopter.
And there was the patient stigma. They didn't want anyone to know. It was hard to market and advertise. But yeah, I actually stopped doing it, but then readdressed it in 2007 because I had to, because I opened a private squat in Hatfield. 2007, as you know, we had the recession, 2007, 2008, and it was a private squat, and then all the private patients disappeared because obviously they were saving money, not spending money on elective treatments. But the facial aesthetics really took off. And I think it was people, because it was a cheaper service, but also they wanted to pick me up, feel good factor. And because
to make them look good, it's proven.
Yeah, and yes, with depression and obviously certain toxin treatments. So, and then I had to learn the marketing, I had to learn my techniques, readdressed it, and then it really took off. And then I looked at my figures again, okay, facial aesthetics doesn't really cost me any money apart from materials. Dentistry, that I've got all the lease equipment for the dental chair, radiology equipment, sterilization. It's making me less money. Why not just stop dentistry and just do facial aesthetics? And I enjoyed it more because patients wanted to see you. It's not like, I would never have the patient say to me, I hate the dentist, nothing personal, when I was doing facial aesthetics, when I thought every dentist had that conversation or remark from a dental nervous patient. So I think it's because of that recession, it forced me to actually really concentrate on the facial aesthetics model, business, and I learned about marketing business. But what I did, I went on to different conferences that was non-dental related. So I'll go to a internet marketing conference, I'll go to a estate agent conference, because business is business in the long term. So what could work in one industry, I'm transferring those strategies and tactics to my business. Because as you know, especially with dentistry, because it's such a small, closed community, if someone does something that's really pioneering, then obviously other people follow. There's a bit of a lag, and then everyone's copying everyone else, and it's hard to differentiate yourself. For example, like Whitening Wednesdays, one dentist created that, then now everyone started doing Whitening Wednesdays, etc. So I went to different businesses, and then I think my skill was learning from one industry, transferring it to my industry to make it work.
So you started in 2002, you binned it till 2007, and then it took off. If you could have your time again, going back to 2002, would you have dug in, committed, learned the marketing and pushed harder and not left it? Or would you do it differently?
Actually, I probably would have done the same, because between 2000, so when I gave up facial aesthetics, I concentrated more on private dentistry, cosmetic. And those days it was like 5 veneers, teeth whitening was coming. We didn't do much bonding. And then 2007 to 2010, the aesthetics really went well. Then 2010 to 2012, the private dentistry started coming back. So then we started doing Invisalign, short-term ortho, teeth whitening. So I don't regret that initial period, because otherwise I wouldn't have had those dental clinical skills to implement between 2010 and 2012. Because like any side hustle, let's say facial aesthetic side hustle, you want to build it up on the side, still do your bread and butter, and then you get to a stage where your side hustle takes over, you don't need your bread and butter. Then that's when I gave up dentistry in 2012, because the facial aesthetics took over the bread and butter dentistry. So I probably would have changed everything. I'm a big believer everything happens to you for a reason. Every setback,
for a reason.
Something like that. I'll see that.
On the day, did you plan your last day of dentistry and your last patient? Do you actually remember that day, or was it just the next day? It just so happened you didn't do dentistry.
What I wanted to do, ideally, was get all my rude, the worst patients in the waiting room, and then obviously make some kind of gesture to them. But because I was still registered with the GDC, I didn't want to risk getting struck off. So I didn't. I don't remember the last patient or I remember my first patient.
You imagine that though. That would be very entertaining, wouldn't it? If you never wanted to be a dentist ever again, you'd book them all in.
Yeah, we booked them all in, pretend I was blind, have a white walking stick and a guide dog. Go, who's next? There's nothing there.
It plays out really well in your head, but in reality,
in practicality, be quite a good sketch.
I was going to say, when you're in front of the GDC, it's probably not quite so funny, is it?
No. But I could do it now, because I don't practice too much, and I've got other people. But I'm still registered with GDC, so I could do it now, because I don't need to be registered. So it'd be good.
Sure. Yeah. So then you were facial aesthetics practitioner. You were delivering those treatments, and it's moved on because now you've obviously got the Botulinum Toxin Club, BTC, which obviously helps other people upgrade their skills and market those services. Can you tell us what is BTC and how's that come about?
Yeah, it was exactly the same as like the recession and the private squat. Is I had no intention to teach. So 2012 gave up dentistry, did facial aesthetics, still networked with other dentists. And then when they heard I'd given up dentistry, obviously most dentists think, have you got struck off? Because no one in those days would voluntarily give up dentistry.
Instant negative thought.
It was. Obviously, it's quite common, not as much more common now, dentists giving up dentistry, but in 2012 it wasn't. So, and when I told them I hadn't got struck off, you could see the disappointment on their face that, no, God, he didn't get struck off. Yeah. And then I told them what I did, facial aesthetics, and they had a similar story to me. They said, been on a course, we haven't implemented facial aesthetics, we wasted that money and time, can you teach us how to do it? So because there was a demand and a need for it, I saw the gap in the market, and that's when I set up BTC 2014. Helping dentists and other medical professionals implement facial aesthetics. So, we do the clinical training like most academies, but our USP is more looking at the business side because you could be the best clinician, but it's always the best known clinician that outperforms. And we never get taught business or marketing.
So true.
It's like Amazon. Amazon don't have the best author; they always have best-selling author. So business is about profit. So that's where BTC has their certain USP in terms of looking at the marketing, the sales, the patient journey, because especially male dentists, they would say to a patient, you look a bit haggard today, you need some Botox. They would end up with a black eye at night. So there's how you approach.
Full of charm.
Yeah. And then, because I had that same struggle that dentists were having, then I could relate to that and obviously get them to implement facial aesthetics into their dental surgeries.
Are you looking a bit tired? No, I don't know what you'd say.
But it's clearly worked because you know.
Sorry, what did you say?
I used the negative, so the patient. So what I would say when I first started offering facial aesthetic, I would say, let's say it's Mrs. Jones. I go, Mrs. Jones, I know you will not be interested. Just to let you know, we've started offering facial aesthetics. If you know anyone interested, here's 5 of our cards. So if they're interested, they'll butt in. If they're not interested, they'll tell 5 people.
You've not offended them.
Yeah.
No.
Because I can sort out those wrinkles.
That's right. Yeah, no, very smart. And it's obviously grown because you've now got you have an annual conference, you have a party, all your people that use you and are working with you turn up, and so it's clearly there's a need for it, and you are kind of the guy. You are the guy that everybody will be talking about in this part of the world. Was
that was it at the BTC party that I saw you running around doing something? Would that have been?
Yeah, the Rocky,
some sort of like bonkers marketing.
Yeah, so grab attention.
See, that's your actor, Harry. That's your repressed actor coming to the fore.
But I think that's a bit of you, because from a marketing point of view, you are great and you do things that are a bit edgy. And it's interesting to hear you that you look outside of dentistry, because you're right. So many people just copy one another, and also the same ideas and people keep moving around dentistry. And obviously somebody else that I know you have an interest in and you've kind of studied is Richard Branson. And he's quite a gregarious marketeer in how he goes about it.
That was smooth. I thought it was that slick as a cashmere codpiece, mate. That was very slick, very smooth. I did. I like that. Yeah. How you brought it all together. Yeah. You've now reintroduced the armour. That is like.
And last year, you were fortunate to spend some time on Necker Island with Richard Branson, weren't you?
I don't think my wife's still forgiven me for that. So I said there was network. And obviously one of the things, I got invited to that because of my network, and as well as going to different conferences. I'm a big believer in, like you guys, are networking. And then, one of the guys I was organising, it was a week's away business networking. They had a couple of spaces available. So they said, are you interested in coming? Obviously, I bit his head and hand off. So Yeah, it was really good in terms of, obviously Rich is not guaranteed to be there, but they always book a conference or the networking with he's there. And I just saw his energy, his passion.
Yeah.
He would meet us for breakfast every morning, 7 o'clock. He'd be training 2 hours every day. So he has about a 45-minute coaching lesson and tennis coaching. He loves tennis. He's got 2 tennis courts. Then he goes for a swim to the other tennis court, which is about 3/4 mile away. And then he has another half an hour tennis coaching lesson. Super fit, but really, non-PC. Says what he wants. Reminded me of Benny Hill, some of the comments he was making. What was it? I won't air them on your podcast. So,
was that music playing in the background? Did you hear?
He was chasing me around the island and stuff. So there, but it was quite. So on the first night, I was sitting for dinner with everyone else, and we had to introduce each other. And then we got chatting, and then the lady I was talking to organised the water sports because Richard loves kite surfing, and they do a lot of kite surfing over there. I just said to her, I can't swim. And then she goes, oh, if you do meet Richard, tell him that because he loves to teach people to swim. And the last person he taught was Desmond Tutu. So I go, okay then. So every morning, out for breakfast, 7 o'clock, and then he would sit at the head of the table. So the penultimate day, second to last day, I got up early, 6 o'clock, sat next to that seat, just waited for him. He comes down at 7 o'clock as usual. It's only me and him. He starts eating a croissant and he gets a bit of a crumb on his beard. And I said to him, Richard, you've got a crumb. He keeps going up there. And I go, it's that side. He goes, Harry, you do it. So I do it. And then obviously I bring up, just like Andy did, I goes, I'm really gutted. I couldn't take part in the water sports. We're leaving tomorrow because I can't swim. Doesn't say anything for half an hour. I've lost my opportunity. Then he turns around to me and says, he's about to leave. Harry, do you want to learn to swim? I go, yeah. He goes, come to my villa at midday and I'll teach you to swim in half an hour. Well, that's the kind of guy he is. Like, I'm a nobody and he wants to spend half an hour with me, multi-billionaire, to teach me how to swim. So get to his house, his wife's there, he's eating popcorn, watching MTV music. And I don't know if you want to broadcast this, but all I was thinking is, please let her choke. I rescue her. And then Richard goes, here's £10 million for saving my wife. That's what I was thinking in my head. That never happened, unfortunately. But then he took me to his pool, got inside the pool, and he's taught me underwater how to swim within half an hour. And then he goes, keep in touch, let me know if you continue swimming, etc. So, but as you said, everyone's read his books, Losing My Virginity, Screw It, Let's Do It. It's like, he's a pioneer, he takes calculated risk. And I'll follow a bit like, just be yourself because everyone else is taken. And I see that not people around those, are taking, but they try to be too political. I go, look, and I tried to be like that a couple of years ago, well, more than a couple of years ago. But because I'm not everyone's Marmite, I get the type of delegates that I love working with. We can have a laugh, we can have a joke, we can have a couple of drinks, and then someone that's not different personality to me, obviously they're going to struggle learning from me and I'm going to struggle learning from them, teaching them, So I think, it's being yourself because then you attract, but also I think marketing is also disattracting the people, repelling the people you don't want to work with. Not saying there's anything wrong with those type of people, but they're not it'd be like chalk and cheese.
So you don't have to have them, do you?
No.
You want to select the people that you want to work with.
But the thing is, I think filtering people out through your marketing is a great idea because it saves everybody the hassle and the time. And if they're not your people, that doesn't make them bad or you bad. It just means they need to find somebody that they fit better with, isn't it? And we all know the people we like, and we all know what our tribe looks like. And if that doesn't fit, then kind of move on and find the right person.
And I think a lot of young dentists, and I was saying I want to attract every patient, every delegate, because you think you're missing out. And then that's where you get the complaints and the problems, is the people that you haven't bonded with because they're different to you.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember seeing there was a one-off documentary that was actually set on Necker Island, and it basically followed Richard Branson around for a week or whatever. And I remember I watched it, and I came away from that thinking that he kind of tells you as it is.
Did he teach anyone to swim?
No. I mean, I hear the last person he taught after Desmond Tutu was Dr. Harry Singh.
Dr. Harry Singh.
That's apparently the story.
Desmond didn't drown, did he? No.
But he was very kind of out there, which surprised me in some ways because the marketing, because Virgin as a brand comes across as quite inclusive.
Yeah.
It's quite mainstream. There's a fun element to it, but it is quite mainstream in its approach. Yeah, he as an individual was quite thorny. So it's interesting how that's kind of, you've got that core message from him, but how that gets passed through to the marketing of the business.
And the other thing I know is
it's very interesting, actually.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, he always has.
I was just going to say, sorry, it's very interesting. Yeah, they have their own message. It was quite interesting. I was on a train to Leeds on an LNER train that obviously used to be a Virgin train. So, but was quite fun. I noticed on the plug socket, it says, use this to plug in your phone and your laptop. Don't plug in your hair straightener. and I was thinking that is obviously an original Virgin message, because it didn't fit with the LNER, which is exactly what you guys are saying. In fact, if they have this message that you go, oh, that's Virgin, but coming from someone else, it wouldn't make sense really.
And the other thing that really fascinating, he still has goals. So he just reached he's about 72, I think. Every decade he wants to go into space. So he goes, if I live on to 80, I'm going to fly to space again. When 90, fly to space. So even though he's achieved everything he wanted to, he still has goals that he aspires to.
Was he likable? I'm only asking because for me, he's almost like a mythical creature. He's kind of one of those people that you just hear about, but you never actually get to talk to people that have spent time with him. And is he, as an individual, is he a likable guy?
Harry calls him Richard. It's just that. Yeah. It's like, well, when Richard says.
Yeah, and Richard calls me Dick. So no, actually, he's very polite, because obviously there are because there's a buffet breakfast and he needs to let people go in front of him, even though he's in front of them. Yeah, he doesn't really drink that much because there was champagne around every corner of the island. It's like, God, he must be an alcoholic or something. But no, he goes, just wants to entertain people. And he's also very sociable because he bought the island next to him, can't remember their name, for him and his wife. And he got so bored, he moved back to Necker Island so he could meet more people. So he's very sociable, people's person. But yeah, very fit and healthy. Unfortunately, not interested in any Botox treatments I did offer, with all the sun damage he has in his eye there, but he wasn't interested.
Look at that. Never want to miss an opportunity, Harry?
He did actually call me because he was driving.
Did you say?
He was driving me in his buggy to get to the pool, and he goes, "You're just like a drug dealer, aren't you? You just get people hooked, and they can't say no." Did you say to him, "I know you're not going to be interested"? However,
So just on the swimming thing, Harry. So on the swimming thing, did he teach you to swim, and do you still?
Yeah, because So he's taught me underwater, and as we came before the podcast started, so just come back from Morocco, and we had a resort villa, and I was in the swimming pool every day. Actually, it was really good because my kids can swim, I can't swim, my wife can't swim, but I just bonded a lot more with the kids because I was swimming with them all day long in the swimming pool. So
yeah, brilliant.
He's got that to thank as well.
And was it anything to do with a fear?
Wow, that's brilliant.
Was it a fear of swimming, or was it just the fact you never quite got around to it?
Yeah, because I used to because I'm Sikh, I used to wear a turban when I was in school. And for some reason, the teachers wouldn't let me go in the swimming pool for swimming lessons. Either they were scared of my turban getting wet because it wasn't waterproof, or some other reason. So I never had any swimming lessons at school and stuff.
Right.
And then
wow, that followed you through.
As you get older, you get more scared of water, so you don't do it. Because when you're first thing I did when I had kids is to get them to get taught how to swim. So both of them are really good swimmers.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant! I'd never call you an old dog, but you've learnt a new trick, haven't you?
That's it.
Woof.
and on that, in terms of kind of learning a new skill, you've obviously said you're keen attender of conferences and courses. What's your outlook and approach to personal development? Because you've gone through various iterations and evolutions through your career, but how do you manage your own personal development?
Yeah, I love learning and progressing. I'm an avid reader, read a lot of books. So normally I would dedicate 1 hour every night to reading, 9 to 10. Because what a lot of people do is on their phone, and then I found it was affecting my sleep. So 9 to 10, 9 to 9:45 I'll read, and then the last 15 minutes I'll implement. see, okay, what do I need to do? Action plan. I love personal development. The actual learning, but also the people you meet, because you can learn from everyone. I'm very good. People don't believe it, but I'm very good at listening. So when I meet new people, I actually don't say much because I want to learn from them, because you're always going to pick up a few tips from everyone you meet. So, I would have a budget. So beginning of the year, I'll go a budget of about 15 grand I want to spend on personal development that year, whether it's books, I'm going to conferences, etc. So I'm going to Florida next month. I haven't told the wife yet. And then Marbella. They're nice location. I think what's strange changed with me, instead of having the conferences in a dodgy hotel room, I'll pick more exotic locations now for personal development. But they do say the environment does stimulate your learning. So in a new environment, really good environment, then you do learn a lot better. But now I love personal development.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. And also, I think if you take yourself out of your traditional environment, personally, I find that's where my best ideas come. If you sit around with a flip chart and a pen and a bunch of people and say, right, let's brainstorm, they never come to you. You know, you're walking down a beach or going for a jog or swimming or whatever else you might be doing.
It's hard carrying that flip chart.
What's too important?
Well, yeah.
You can be one of the sandwich boards that's walking up and down the street and then put your ideas on.
Yeah,
exactly.
Give me an idea. Give me a suggestion.
I'll tell you what, I love the idea, Harry, of setting effectively a budget and then finding things to spend that budget on in the year. So you almost reverse engineer it. So you say, I've allocated money and I'm going to spend that money.
Because that could be extravagant lunches to experience great customer service, couldn't it?
Well, yeah, and you would learn. You would learn from that.
You'd learn from that outside of the industry.
Yeah, I'm not sure it'd help your waistline, but you would learn from it, which is good. We always ask our guests 2 questions at the end, Harry. But before we get to that, just you've obviously done so much. What's the toughest thing that you've been through in your life, and what's it taught you?
Good question. I will say, because I did fail my finals in the 5th year. So I failed my finals. I just got one of the exam papers completely messed up. So that was the hardest, because obviously my parents were excited, getting a qualified dentist, the first dentist in the family. I think I lied to them.
Big party.
Yeah, I think I lied to them. I think I said to them, I did so well, they wanted me to stay on for an extra 6 months to help the other delegates, the graduates. So... I don't think
what a great answer.
Today they know I failed. So that was a hard. I was actually crying. I was in tears, and I remember it because it was when Liverpool played, England played Germany in the semis. Where Gascoigne was. I'm sure it was that was it 96? It was one of the semis that England.
Oh, Euro 96. Yeah. Euro 96, yeah.
That's the day I got my results and failed. And then I was crying in the pub watching, and then England lost the semis against Germany and stuff. So it wasn't a good day. But no, what happened was, as I said earlier, everything happens for a reason. So I got delayed by 6 months. Went to VT, met my business partner in the Barnet VT scheme. So if I hadn't failed, I wouldn't have met him. Lifelong friends, really good family connections, and other people I met that I wouldn't have met.
Brilliant.
So, it was the hardest.
See that? I mean, that's yeah. But it's a lovely. It's like you say. I think this kind of almost captures your outlook on life, which is it was really hard, but look at the good and the opportunities that came out of it. You know, you don't dwell on it and go, oh, like, poor me, poor Harry, it all went wrong. You're like, okay, we'll crack on. And look at now looking back, you see all the good that came out of that.
Because you wouldn't have met those people, and that, your trajectory would have been different. So, no regrets, but that was probably the hardest thing at that particular time.
Yeah. So to wrap up, we always ask our guests, if you could be the fly on the wall with somebody in a certain situation, when would that be, and who'd be
I've got an inkling.
Have you?
I'll see if my inkling.
I'll tell you, we'll let Harry play his out, and then we can check.
Yeah, got an inkling.
What would you go with?
Actually, is a strange one. I would be in the final war when my parents were in India and made a decision to come to this country. So the decision.
Wow.
It's in your moments of decisions that your destiny changed, because obviously because they made that decision, my destiny is completely different. They stayed in India, so I want to see their thought process. They've talked about it, but I would have loved to be in the final war in their Indian village saying, okay, we're going to go to England, leave all our family behind, leave all our education behind, and we're going to go in 1962. They came over. So I would have loved to see. conversation they had and reactions from their family. Did family stop them, or were they encouraged when they got onto the plane? Is this a big risk, or are we doing the right thing? Because obviously they did it.
A couple of suitcases and off you go.
They didn't do it for themselves. They obviously did it for their future children.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh no, I think you're right. I think that would be amazing. That moment where they look at one another and it's like they commit to it. It's like we're going to do it. We are going to do this. Yeah.
Wow.
What were you thinking?
Yeah, that'd be lovely. That'd be a real special moment.
It wasn't my inkling at all. No. I thought being a die-hard Liverpool fan, because we've had it from a couple of die-hard Liverpool fans, it's that Champions League AC Milan, was it, or something? Half time or something, when you were down 3-0. We've had what did Steven Gerrard say? What did Houllier? Was Houllier the manager? Or would it have been Rafa?
Yeah, Rafa. I think it was Rafa, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Benitez.
Who not being a Liverpool fan, obviously. But yeah, that was the few Liverpool. It's interesting. There's quite a lot of Liverpool fans as dentists, actually. Just thinking about it.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there are quite a few on.
I think we've had one Gooner.
Yeah.
I think there are more other fans.
Anyway, that's the sort of casual.
I think there are more other fans, but they don't want to admit to supporting the other teams.
Yeah, perhaps they keep quiet. I think that's a lovely story, that, Harry. And then our last one is, if you could meet somebody, who would you like, given the opportunity?
And we always say living or dead, fictional or real.
Well, I've met this guy a couple of times, but I would love to spend more time with him. Sachin Tendulkar, the Indian cricketer.
The cricketer. Yeah.
Because I want to know the pressures he must have been under at every game to perform. And obviously, as you know, cricket is like a religion in India. So, and he was one of the first major superstars after Kapil Dev. How he performed, and he was so humble, down to earth. The celebrity status didn't get to him. He wasn't drinking, wasn't going out. How he maintained his lifestyle, but also the pressure at every match. Because there's one wrong stroke and you're out, and then the whole country's like depressed. How he kept that one for so long, and two, how did he cope with that pressure every single day of his life?
Yeah. I think given what you were saying earlier about being keen on sport and autobiographies, I can see why that person would be an amazing person to sit down with and have a conversation, just to get into the mindset as to how do you perform ongoing.
And truly a sport's great, because it's interesting, isn't it? I don't really know much about cricket at all, but I know that name. I recognise and I know who that person is, whereas you could mention other people and I'd have absolutely no idea who they are.
Yeah, he's
it's fascinating.
Over. Obviously, like Shane.
Harry, it's been an absolute...
like Shane Warne. Most people know about Shane Warne. Obviously, he was another.
Yes,
Unfortunately, passed away. But the pressure.
Yes,
they have a personality outside of their sport, don't they? That sort of becomes them. They're almost like a brand as opposed to their sport, if that makes sense.
But they're kind of sort of almost like once in a generation type people, aren't they? You know, there aren't many of them that get to that
It's
level.
a goat, isn't that what it is? It's a goat.
Oh yeah,
I never quite understood what that was to start with. Who's the goat?
No, I never do.
The greatest of all time.
And they're going to goat, and I was going, what? Then I thought they were talking about the goatee beard.
Yeah, I'm with you, Harry. I didn't have a clue. I was thinking, are they insulting this person? It's just like, what's that? They're a goat, they're stupid, are they butt heads? And someone explained it to me, and I went, okay, I get it now. Yeah. That's because I'm old, though, I reckon.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's social media for you.
Yeah, there we go. See, young and trendy, social media. What's that?
Yeah. It's been a joy, Harry. I think your stories are great. I think the way you've kind of morphed and evolved through your career, but still stayed relevant and still got so much more that you're doing for the profession in your own way. I think it's a lovely story. That start point about your family and coming over from India, I think that is a real kind of roots of set you up well for a great career so far.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, lovely. It's really good.
Yeah, thank you guys for the invitation. Really enjoy it. Time goes quick, doesn't it?
No, thank you for accepting.
Yeah. Well, look after yourself. No doubt we'll be speaking soon.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.